great award ceremony that's happening concurrent with this meeting. Jim will give you the reins when we get there.
Absolutely fine.
Yeah. So I may come in and out here. We'll see. Hopefully everyone was able to figure this out. I didn't have any issues having to use a password, so hopefully that didn't trip anybody up.
You know, I didn't use a password either. I just clicked and joined.
Yeah. Hey, there's Libby.
Flying around outer space.
I think Libby's good friends with Elon Musk.
Must be.
Yep. Unmute yourself. Libby, you're muted.
There it is. Okay, there. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, why am I friends with Elon Musk?
Background.
Oh, and I don't even know how that happened. I've seen it. So,
Hey,
yeah,
Libby,
yeah.
you look out of this world.
Oh boy, here they come.
Yeah.
Cheese factor.
Did BCA, BCA pass our thing? Did anybody go to the BCA meeting?
No.
Okay.
And by that I think you meant me.
Well, yes, I guess so. Yes, and we got back here about 30, and I could have tuned in, but it was a long afternoon waiting. So.
Yeah, I had some business appointments, so.
You mean you actually work here?
I mask up and go to work.
Yeah.
Good for you.
I think I was slightly CO2 amplified on the drive home because I missed a stop sign. I feel like when I have a mask on, all I can
think about is that. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's just my breathing. I almost hyperventilate sometimes. So.
Oh. I think it has a blind spot too. Like if I'm going to the store, I always have to peel my mask down so I can.
Oh yeah.
Blind spot.
And I don't drive with one. I see people do it, and I think, why are they doing that? I mean, at least you control who you're seeing in the car.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we are live on our YouTube channel. For those of you viewing us on channelclintonville.com, hello. And this is Andrew Overbeck chairing the Clintonville Area Commission Planning and Development meeting. And go ahead and get started.
Yeah, thanks, PJ. Megan's going to be joining us. She said she's having some internet problems.
Okay.
So we can go ahead and get started. I'm able to share the screen. See here. Oh, it still says you disabled screen sharing.
All right, you should be good to go. Sorry.
All right. Yeah, no worries. Yeah, no worries. Great. I think we've got Zach with us too. That's awesome. So yeah, I hope everyone's doing well. I was explaining here at the top before a lot of people joined that my son's 8th grade award ceremony is happening right now. So I may jump in and give Jim control of the meeting. He's got a couple of awards he's up for, so we'll cross our fingers.
Oh,
See how he
okay.
does. Hold on one second. I need to send the link to the meeting to Megan. She's having some trouble. Yeah, he's up for scholar athlete, so he's, we'll see what happens.
Oh,
See what happens. All right. Oh, that's the wrong one. Sorry. Okay. Wanted to get an update, give everyone an update on the traffic signal box art project. And there's a couple things. Unfortunately, we did not get the grant from the Columbus Foundation, which is bad. But we do have, and Megan will have the total funds that are available to us. Is everyone able to see the I've got up right now?
mm-hmm.
Okay. So we've got $3,000 from Clintonville Inc. I think our latest GoFundMe is more than $353. So I think we've got enough for 3 boxes. And I was just talking with the head of the University Area Commission's University District, I should say, Improvement District. They've got another box or 2 they're going to install this summer, so we can share travel costs, split travel costs with them. And I think the travel costs that we had been holding in our budget are probably pretty high. And given the fact that it's a lot cheaper to fly places these days, I think we're going to come out ahead. We had budgeted $1,500. So I think between the share that we have the ability to do and the fact that travel costs are lower, I think I'll find out here shortly what those travel costs are, but I think we're going to be able to, put 2 or 3 boxes in without any trouble at all. Megan's got the full accounting of that.
Sorry, I'm here now.
Oh, here she is. Awesome. Hey, Megan, how are you?
Good. Normally I don't have as much problem with Zoom meetings. Sorry.
It's okay. My internet is either incredibly fast or not working at all. So
Ditto.
it's either 100% or 0. So, and once a day it decides to take a little break.
Oh yeah, at least.
I didn't have problems during the workday, so I guess that's a plus.
There you go. There you go. Well, are you able to see the screen, Megan?
Yeah. Yes.
I was just explaining that I talked with Matt Hansen down at University District. They've got another box or 2 that they're going to install this summer. And he's able to share the travel costs with us. What the exact split of that is, I'm not exactly sure. But we had been holding a line item in there, Megan, of $1,500.
Yeah.
And the travel costs, he thought were going to be a lot lower than that, based on his previous experience, because he had them come install stuff.
Okay.
I think this winter or late fall in any case. So he was going to get in touch with them and see exactly what they thought the travel costs would be. And then we'd be able to share those costs with them. Whether it's 50-50 or 60-40, I don't know, but he was amenable to sharing the travel costs.
Well, so I reached out to Clean Slate Group on March 24th, and the $1,500 was what they gave me.
Yeah.
Maybe he has some wiggle room or ways to him to lower it.
Yeah, so he said he'd reach out to him and get back to us. So he thought it'd be lower than $1,500.
Okay.
And I assume that's based on his prior experience with them. So I think we'll have to do the sort of final accounting, dollars and cents wise. But if you recall, this one was the #1 vote getter. This dogs one was, how far behind was it? That one
Option 2.
was option 2. It's not too far behind, probably 5th or so. But if you recall, that artist had already offered to donate her artist fee to the project. And I just think that's too good to pass up, so we get bang for the buck. And then we had this one here, just for the sake of I think we had made a decision early on that this one at Park of Roses at the library, we just the placement of it's so good. And we needed to sort of fit some of these small boxes. So this one,
I think it was in the top 3 as well.
okay.
Sure.
So this one would be at Catalina's. This one would be at Hollenbach, Acton, in High Street. And I think this one was Henderson and High, correct, Megan?
That was, tentatively where we had placed it, but the artist didn't really specify a location. So
that would give us some good geographic spread. I think the only thing we could do would be to, if dollars and cents work for us, this one was also highly voted, and that was on Kanawha. So that would give us really good geographic spread across the neighborhood. So I'd love for the dollars and cents to work out that we could do maybe too small and too big, but we've got to get the final travel numbers in before we can quite figure that out. But Clintonville Incorporated confirmed that we have $3,000 in our account, and I think we're good to go to spend once we get the travel started out. With that, take any thoughts or questions you have.
I just have one comment. I ran the numbers before this, assuming the $1,500 travel cost, and that we would take half of that.
Yeah.
So $750, and to do the 2 large boxes, so Catalina's and the dogs, plus the one at the Park of Roses, we would still need to come up with about $400.
Okay.
Somewhere, either less travel costs or additional donations.
And where do we stand right now in the GoFundMe?
$1,200.
Oh, wow. So we're at $4,200.
Yes.
Okay. Well, great. I mean, I think, if we had to make one more push to get a couple hundred more bucks, I'd like to think we could do it. We had originally, and I know, Zach, you were looking into this, reaching out to businesses that are around these boxes. And I think we decided collectively that, given the fact that all of our small businesses are struggling to make ends meet right now, asking them for dollars and cents for this it seemed a little tone deaf. And maybe asking our community for that might be seen that as well. But I think if we're really a couple $100 short, I'd like to think we could find a way to raise that. I'd certainly be willing to kick in a little more personally. Okay, so maybe getting 4 is a reach. Thanks for checking those numbers, Megan. But I think I'd like to think there's a way we could get those 3 done for sure. And we'd have a proof of concept, which Mike and Dee were very excited about, which would enable us to raise money for the remaining ones once people saw them in place.
I have a question, Andrew.
Yeah.
Just because we may only be able to fund 3 and a potential 4th for the time being, that doesn't mean that we're, it's 4, and then it just means this could be phased in later as we.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the artists selected. I think we've made a collective decision that these are the ones that we're choosing from. I think our initial thoughts here were getting as good a geographic spread as we could and making sure that the ones that had been, given the weight by the public got got some consideration, but also we were making considerations based on location and size of some of these as well. So, and then what we can afford. So there are a lot of things we're looking at there to make sure that we can make this work. But I don't know. You look at what's nothing against any of the other districts or neighborhoods that have done this. I really think we have some stuff here that has some great local flavor as well. The original art of two of these being sort of hand done, hand painted, really representative of the neighborhood. All those dogs are dogs that lived in Clintonville, or do live in Clintonville. I don't know if it's past or present. So, I mean, I think we've got some really, some neighborhoods have done images of places in their neighborhood, but this is actual artwork. And I think I really feel strongly we've got 3 good ones to start with. And hopefully we can get that 10-year-old's box in there too at some point. He might be 15 by the time we get there, but I hope we can make it happen.
Well, thank you, Megan. I think you've gotten us off to some great momentum there. I appreciate your all your work and effort that you put into this, Megan. And I'm really sorry that we weren't able to get that grant.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I was hopeful, but
we tried.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So we'll run the numbers. I would love to get back with you all once we have a number there and just see where our gap is and see how we might be able to get creative on making that up. But, if it's a couple $100, I think we can get there. Maybe if we could do one more, GoFundMe call, let people know we're, $100 short, maybe we can get there. So, and maybe, it could be the travel cost is extraordinarily low. We'll just have to see. Matt was pretty optimistic when I talked to him this evening. So more to come there. All right. I think we should go ahead and jump into our second item unless there's anything else. Okay. So I'm going to swap over to talking about our mobility study that we did back 5 years ago. And I think we might have even, Jim, correct me if I'm wrong, sat on that very porch 6 or 7 years ago to come up with this list. So I might tee this up here and then give control over to you, Jim. But what I've got up on the screen here are the implementation and the projects that were funded by URF. And I think this is a list that we need to update. The city has issued an update to this end of last year, if I recall correctly, or last summer. So we need to update this based on what really is being planned. So that needs to be updated regardless. But I thought it would be good if we sort of went back through, and I'll start this and share around a file that everyone can add their thoughts into, sort of a PDF. We had a lot of different ideas, and I think some of these have either been accomplished, some of them no longer be relevant. Some of them we've already, I think, highlighted for a future phase of URF money, should we be so fortunate to have another phase. So, or some of these just aren't, have sort of fallen off the list as potential projects. So I'm going to take a look at, for example here, retain Hawk signal at Olympic pool site. Well, we don't have Olympic pool anymore. Is that still relevant because we've got a development there now? Perhaps. I'll go ahead and mark some of these things up and send this around to the group. And then I think if we could have a more full discussion as a group next month, I think that would be a great use of our time. But to kickstart the conversation in terms of bringing us into the current world, I wanted to bring back a conversation we had, I think, at our last meeting back in person in February, which was to talk through opportunities to improve pedestrian and bicycle access along North Broadway. And in the intervening time, and I'm going to stop sharing right now unless someone wants to talk about this list. In the intervening time, and I'll let Jim, you take over here and put up the exhibits you have.
Yeah, thanks. How do I?
You should just be able to go to the bottom and share screen. It's a green arrow. There we go. So as an introduction to this, there's been in the last couple weeks, an official request for proposals put out to build the 2 bridges across the Olentangy and put the sort of through trail, north-south trail and the Olentangy trail to make sure we've got a consistent north-south connection that would take place without having to use Milton, take a little pressure off that. This is becoming a real project, and you know, it obviously has funding that's going ahead as well. So when we talked about this last in February, it was about how do we, and we've talked about this many times, how do we get access, better pedestrian access on North Broadway itself? Right now, there's only a sidewalk on the north side of North Broadway across the bridge, and there's a striped area on the south side of North Broadway. And if we're going to have, you know, the bike trail connection over there, the bike boulevard on Milton will continue to exist for neighborhood use. But we also have a huge employer and a destination at Kohl's and all sorts of other things there. They have a redundancy of connections and the ability to get some pedestrian access on the south side of North Broadway, something that we wanted to talk about a little more. And then is there a way to get, you know, perhaps a shared use path that could connect up to Milton on the south side of North Broadway? If we could widen the sidewalk a little bit, we would then have another bike connection to sort of complete that circuit, complete that loop, make it easier for people to get to Ohio Health and get to some of the stuff over there. And you know, I see people walking across that all the time, and it's a pretty difficult pedestrian environment. Even though there's technically space, there's nothing that really protects you. So one of Jim's colleagues and Clintonville resident, am I correct, Mike, has joined us tonight to help us think through this a little bit as sort of a guest to our meeting. And I'll turn the conversation over to Jim and Mike.
Yeah, so what you're looking at here is the graphic that the city prepared with the request for proposal. So what is identified in the blue line is the current Olentangy Trail as it exists, moving north along Milton and then reconnecting with the multi-use trail at Northmore Park. The current proposal identifies 2 bridge locations, as Andrew identified, one here at Como Park. You can see where it crosses near what is currently the Kohl's department store, moves north along the west bank of the Olentangy, and then crosses North Broadway, West North Broadway, where the new interchange is and the signal, and then moves north with another multi-use pedestrian bridge that connects into Northmore Park. So that's the current plan that Andrew identified. So our thinking was that as we identify items to be included in the mobility plan, if we are going to renovate or update that mobility plan, what is the connection opportunity to get a more friendly pedestrian environment along this North Broadway corridor? So that's why we asked Mike to join us and just really talk about what some of the options might be across the bridge, how we move along the residential frontage along that corridor, and just begin the dialogue, I guess, with somebody who really understands how these things work. So Mike, what we've got is just
yeah, maybe to add one thing before you leave this graphic, Jim.
Okay.
You know, the first question that probably comes to your mind is, do do we really have to have another at-grade crossing on North Broadway? You know, is it possible to go under the North Broadway Bridge? And I will say that I know that that was looked at in some detail, and there's just not the vertical headroom needed between the floodplain there and the bridge as it's constructed today to make that an underpass. So that's unfortunate. I would like to think that when this project goes into detailed design, that would be something that would be studied a little bit harder. But we all know that, you know, we have some heavy rains like we had last week, and the water's released from the dam up in Delaware, that the Olentangy in this area will run close to flood stage for, you know, several days. So you wouldn't want to build a path in the floodplain that then isn't available.
Yeah, and I kayaked this a couple weekends ago, and it is, I mean, it's a really, what's sort of a shame is the old bridge that was probably built in the 30s is underneath that still.
Yep.
Wonderful stonework on it. It's a great arch bridge. I can send people pictures. But it's hard to get under. It's definitely going to be hard to get underneath that. And as much as the trail, you know, the trail pretty much was flooded out. I mean, almost everywhere up at Whetstone, and it was definitely flooded out down at Doddridge last week this time. So, yeah, one is the headspace. Two is how usable it would be. A lot of the time would be tough. And where that line currently hits is, you know, as close as it is to the road or the highway ramp there, it is going to, you know, be pretty accessible most of the time, I would think.
Yep. Yeah, agreed. And I'll echo your sentiments on the old bridge that I think was built in 1939. I looked at the old plans, and it's a real shame that we don't have that bridge to look at anymore.
Yeah, no doubt.
Limestone facing, decorative lighting, copper downspouts. It was a really nice bridge in its day.
It's a bummer.
And then it was widened in 1978 or 79. And a lot of the stonework was covered up, but some of it is still there if you're able to make your way down under the bridge.
Nice.
So in terms of what could be done along North Broadway itself, you know, there are really two main options. One is a newer, nicer version of what's on the north side today, which would be a curb, a sidewalk, and a vehicular rated barrier that is on the other side of the sidewalk from the road itself. Excuse me.
Is that what I'm showing here, Mike?
Sorry, I'm having the typical Zoom meeting interruption by I'm sure many of you know what that's like.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that would be one option, a pretty typical option. The other route, of course, would be to go more the route of like Henderson Road with a shared use path that is divided from traffic with a vehicular rated barrier. I don't know that we have the space on the bridge today as it's currently striped to get something like that done, but you know, at an early concept stage, it's something that of course should be looked at. Mm-hmm. The additional space on the bridge, of course, is from the removal of the 315 North ramp, 6C, I think it was, that was referred to by some as the pinball ramp. But then some of that space was then eaten up by the left turn lane that you can see that Jim's showing there, the westbound left turn lane onto Ohio Health Parkway. So it is a little bit of a strange configuration on the bridge. The road is variable where the bridge width itself is consistent. So the distance between the edge of the eastbound travel lane and the bridge parapet there today is going to be a variable distance, which I think is anywhere from 7 feet to maybe like 13. So 7 feet is certainly pretty tight. but there are a few options on things that could be looked at.
So when you say 7 feet, Mike, that needs to include the traveled way for the pedestrian, whatever kind of separation and curb for the vehicular, right? So all of that would have to kind of fit within that 7 foot tightest pinch point opportunity, right? As you.
That's right. Yeah. And, you know, the typical minimum distance for or width for the sidewalk itself would be 5 feet, particularly when it's up against a barrier. So, which it would be on the riverside at least. So it would certainly be very tight.
Because what's interesting about it is when you drive it now, you think as you drive it and you look, you think, oh my goodness, there's plenty of room to do whatever we want, but it's not. It's where we incorporate or kind of bump up against these pinch points that become the issue, right?
That's right. That's exactly right.
Okay. And when we talk about pinch point, if I were to kind of exit the street view here, I apologies for. So we're probably talking about more of a pinch point along this end of it on this side of the river. Is that correct?
Yeah, it would be the west side of the bridge on the south side of the road. It would be
over here.
This pinch point. Yeah, I actually can't see your cursor, but yeah, it's because of the development of the westbound left turn lane at Ohio Health Parkway. Those eastbound lanes are shifted over to the south a little bit and creates that pinch point there at the west end of the bridge. So I think that's going to be the probably the controlling factor from a standpoint of what's doable for a certain cost. Certainly with enough money, just about anything can be done. But if there's a desire not to widen the bridge itself and to try to, deal with the best repurpose the bridge width as it is today, then I think that's going to be the pinch point right there.
Mm-hmm.
Tim, were you trying to show things in Street View or something? Because that screen, we still can just see the aerial. Is there also a pinch point when we get around to that driveway on the east side?
So that would be what you're talking about is over here, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think in that location we have about 10 feet, 9 to 10 feet. So for a minimum sidewalk width, I think 10 feet's probably certainly enough to work with. If we're looking for more of a shared use path, then that would be a tougher conversation probably.
All right. That's interesting. So the actual pinch point is on the west side of the river and less on the east side. I was concerned about that transition into where the residential frontage, the proproperties exist outside there. Yeah.
That was always the one that I was worried more about too.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Yeah, and with my history with the Ohio Health Project, I may have been more focused on the west side. So not to say there's not a pinch point on the east side. It's just not one that I know as well as I know the one on the west side.
Gotcha. Right.
So where does that leave us in terms of any options to do something that might coincide with what the city is planning for the improvements to the bike path and connectivity?
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't think the city's doing anything that would certainly preclude this from happening with the project that would complete the Olentangy Trail. I would think it's not necessarily a foregone conclusion that the city's not already thinking about connectivity on the south side of North Broadway, and perhaps it may be best addressed even as part of this project if that makes sense for everybody.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the vehicle is to kind of put that in front of the city. But
Yeah.
it seems like
Yeah.
all these things, they make sense to talk about at the same time for sure.
All right. Oh gosh. Yeah, well, and CAC did do a resolution, but I think, that only has limited value. I think dialogue is better.
Yeah, I think I see what you're saying here. This thing has driven me the craziest, where they just sort of like scuffed up the pavement and just built this little ramp with the sidewalk down into this, tight spot. It just seems like that there's not a better picture of you didn't finish the project, or you worked right up to the project limit, and people are walking on that, and the geometry is a little, you can just shift it a little, you probably could have gotten there,
Yeah, and I think in the city's defense, we always have to stop somewhere, and given the speed at which some of the projects in the area were moving, and the fact that my understanding is that this is a county maintained bridge.
Yes.
So it would roll another jurisdiction into, it would have rolled another jurisdiction into that project. But it's certainly not an ideal situation, but understandable given some of the factors involved.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that benefits at least this conversation is that we as a planning and development committee see the benefit of the connection between this, whether it's a employment center of hospital and Ohio Health in our neighborhood, actually. So I think, Andrew, when you and I spoke earlier, it really was about maybe start to show this on our mobility plan when we update that.
I'll be right back. 1 second. Keep going.
Okay.
So I think as a group, the reason that we're talking about this is because we think it's a benefit to our neighborhood and the community. So, if anyone disagrees, now, I guess, right? I would all agree. It's a good.
Excuse me. I'm all for it.
And I think Mike referred to it as a pinball. Didn't you call it the slingshot?
I usually called it a slingshot ramp. I call it a ramp, yeah.
Right.
I love there's a cop.
Yeah, I loved the ramp, but it was not a necessary thing.
Not very pedestrian friendly, that's for sure.
Oh yeah.
What did you call it, BJ?
Oh crap, there's a cop.
No.
Right. True. So,
but yeah, I think that putting it on our mobility plan, and then if we can find the resolution that we did, I think I know I've got it somewhere. It would just take me a while. That Jim or David Votera may have it also, so that we can add that to it, just to show that we've been talking about it for a while.
Mm-hmm. So, Mike, what's the status on this RFP? Is it currently out right now, or is it?
It's not out, but to my knowledge, let me put it this way. It was advertised. I'm sure a number of consultant teams submitted on it.
Right.
And I understand that the city is now considering those proposals that they got from consultants.
Okay.
So that's my knowledge of where things stand.
Of where it is. Yeah. Okay.
I will say, this trail project, the Olentangy Trail, is a federally funded project, Transportation Alternatives Program. So I would imagine it will take a while for this to come to fruition. Of course, when you add federal money to a project, it usually gets slower and more expensive. So this, think is maybe 2023, or I'd have to check the attributable funding
At
stat.
one point it was 2025 and my husband thought that was really quick.
He would know.
Yeah. True. So I think we wanted to kind of bring this up to the group and provide some graphics and a little more background, obviously Mike's expertise and just kind of understanding, number one, the importance of the connection, and number two, that, you know, there are alternatives. We're gonna have to probably be creative with, number one, how we approach the city to actually get on their radar a little more. Maybe it is already, but then also a little creative with how the trail actually, I guess, what it looks like as an end product. So just want to get it in front of you as a group and make you a little more aware of what the options are. Unfortunately, I don't know that we had any other agenda items after this. Are there any questions regarding this, or thoughts, concerns, snide remarks, anything?
Jim, I have just a kind of a question based
Yeah.
on where the location of the two bridge connectors are. Are those chosen sites that are really the only locations for them, or are those the best, or what was your understanding of the two choices? I mean, Northmore makes a ton of sense. I'm curious about the Como, this Como Bridge thing. So
Yeah, and I think I wouldn't read too much into those. I think they're highly conceptual at this point.
okay.
The idea is that there is a bridge crossing at Como Park somewhere along that, and then another one at Northmore somewhere up there, right, Mike? To be determined, I'm guessing.
That's my understanding. Yeah, I don't think anybody is at a level of design right now that would commit them to one location or another. I think it probably comes down to a lot of factors that are design and engineering related, like floodplain impacts and property acquisitions, and certainly trail alignment. So I think there's a long way to go before, I would think there's a long way to go before those bridge locations are set in stone.
Literally.
Wanted to be a ferry captain. Maybe I could do a ferry.
Yeah,
There you go.
that'd be good.
It would be flood proof, perhaps.
Little rope raft.
Yes, well, I guess under the snide comment saying, if you ask Julie Smiley, she will tell you where the bridge is going to be.
Okay.
That's all I know. So,
All right. Andrew, we were just talking a little bit about, Carrie brought up the question about the bridge locations.
Oh, yeah.
And Mike reiterated that at this point, it's a graphic. Not carved in stone yet. We just know that we want to make a connection at Como and another bridge connection in Northmore.
Yeah, and they'll be obviously looking at the shortest possible connection and where grades, match the best. So there's some things that you're looking at, but yeah, I would expect that those are incredibly conceptual right now.
okay.
May I ask a question that could be slightly off topic, but on topic?
Sure. Well, before you do, I want to make one last point that's positive about this graphic is you see the dotted red line on the western side is the extension of Olentangy River Road Trail to the north, which I think is pretty cool too. So other trail pieces as part of this, well, maybe not exactly part of this, but in the works that I think are just going to make things better. But yeah, soft top.
Oh.
Go ahead, Libby. You have one more thing to say.
I haven't been past the Union Cemetery part yet, and it seemed like there was just a ton of earth moving and everything. Is there anything else planned for that, or is it just roundabouting and ramping that's being done there? Do you know?
Huh.
On Olentangy River Road specifically?
No, I'm talking west of Union Cemetery. Well, and actually west of the on and off ramps that go straight into Riverside. They're on West North Broadway.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I can speak to that. There is a stormwater detention basin that's been there for a very long time. That is being expanded as part of some of the infrastructure work that's going on in the area.
Oh,
As a
okay.
result, the eastbound North Broadway to southbound 315 loop ramp is being, the alignment of that's being adjusted. So I think that's the area that you're
Yes.
talking about. It's, yeah, the detention basin's being expanded. And as a result, the ramp alignment is changing.
And isn't there a run or a ditch there? Did they open that, or did they open it and reclose it? Or because I know there's some sort of, it's got a name and I can't remember the name, that goes over to that housing complex.
Yeah.
And I thought they were opening it because of flow, you know, and the organization flow, or I don't know.
Yeah, I don't, it's called Sly Run,
Yes.
SLYH. I don't, so it is open through the detention basin. It's very engineered in that direction. Although I will say east of Olentangy River Road and south of the Ohio Health Headquarters, there is a mitigation project being done on Sly Run to remove invasive species and reestablish native plant material.
Okay.
It's not covering the entire section of Sly Run between the Olentangy River and Olentangy River Road, but a good portion of it.
Okay.
And that again is part of some infrastructure work that went on in the stream corridor protection zone of Sly Run, and you know, trying to make some improvements as part of that.
Okay, thanks, Mike, because we had been a little involved helping that housing complex get a bridge built or rebuilt over there, and we became the sponsoring commission because there's no commission for that housing development. Otherwise, I wouldn't know a thing about it. Thanks.
All right, BJ, off topic.
Well, I wanted to ask about, there are other areas of the bikeway that might be timely for discussion, where there really doesn't need to be any new infrastructure being built, but opportunities to reopen old paths. For example, there used to be a bike path inlet that went from the Olentangy bikeway into Kinney Park that would then allow a person access from the path to Graceland Shopping Center. And now with the development, the kind of revitalization of Graceland Shopping Center, and with the development of workforce housing there, I think it's a good opportunity to maybe put that on the planning and development committee's radar, to have that access reopened. Now that it's been fenced off and kind of overgrown with brush and trees and not really maintained, but there's a little egress from the path to Kinney Park that's been shut down. And I think there's a defunct bridge there. It might be a nice consolatory project if this doesn't happen, maybe.
Yeah, no, I think that's something we can certainly ask about. See if I understand that location well enough. The Olentangy Trail's on the other side of the river there, so where was that connection?
Hmm.
You're muted, BJ.
If you pull up Kinney Park on Google Maps,
Can you guys see the aerial that I have up?
no,
Oh,
Yeah, you might have to move your browser over to whatever screen you're on, or
ooh, I'm only
and
on one
sharing. You
screen.
might have just, Jim, you might have just been sharing specifically that document and not the
Oh,
screen itself.
okay. That's probably what I'm doing. So let me.
I can, if you want me to take it back, I've got it pulled up.
I think I've got it.
Oh, sorry, I might have just messed you up.
Are you?
Okay.
Can you see
no,
it now?
Good. Yep.
Okay. So there's the backside of Graceland, Kenny Park, the river, and then the trail on the west side, right?
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I want to say it's,
Did there used to be a bridge there?
yeah, if you move your, I want to say it was closer, I want to say it was closer to Bethel Road, like where, I want to say it was down around there.
Hmm.
You lived in Clinton life, Mike. Do you remember that? Do you remember a bridge there?
It's kind of like where that little cluster of wooded area kind of encroaches the river there, right there. That's what I want to say.
I do not remember that. I know there's a power line that crosses the river there. We're almost Morse Bethel connector territory here.
Maybe it's kind of a service
Am I allowed
road
to
or
say
something.
that?
Maybe that's a service road to the utility.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like at the end of Delawanda, you can see a trail going through the woods.
Yeah, maybe that's just a service road that I see. Maybe that's all it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a you can see the trail a little bit through the woods there. The other end of Delawanda, the northern end.
Oh,
Okay.
If you go down in the street view, you can see it. There's clearly a trail that goes into the woods there.
Okay, well, maybe it's just utility access, a little utility road. I've always been curious. I've ridden up my bicycle past it a gazillion times, so. Yep.
so in our earlier conversation, I actually had the street view of Broadway, but apparently you weren't seeing it. So I apologize.
Mhm.
We are kind of getting up to 8 o'clock. So
Yeah.
so obviously.
So what did we, Jim? What was the sort of final action item on North Broadway? Where did we land on that?
We hadn't yet. So
Okay.
what I brought up to the group was, we wanted to kind of present this to them for obvious reasons. To number one, identify it as a project that we think needs to be added to the mobility plan. I think everyone agreed that to be the case, and we hadn't really gone into any further conversation about how
Yeah.
the city or is there a way to add it on to? Let me go back to this. Can you guys see that now? The RFP graphic?
No, but I think knowing that the RFP is out there, I think some sort of statement that says we'd like this to be considered as part of that project, knowing that it'll take you know, probably 2 to 3 months for that project to get awarded and under contract. We have a wait time to make that happen, I would think.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe Alex gave us some thoughts about how that might happen. So I may need to take his name off that, but I think we could use those drawings.
Yeah, right.
And if everyone feels, you know, it's a worthy ask, I'm happy to, you know, let the minutes reflect that and see what we can do. Whether I don't know if that needs some commission action, BJ, or how you would like to handle that. But.
Well, I would say, I would say just go ahead and compose a letter of resolution, and we'll present it before the commission. And what we'll do is we'll make that a passage of a resolution that was proposed by Chair Andrew Overbeck of the Planning and Development Committee. And we'll, you know, we'll run it by the commission, and if they want to approve it with a vote, then the CAC can attach a letter of support to accompany that, and we'll present that to the city.
Okay.
Do you want me to find the old one?
Yeah, that would be great. That might, if it's simply, I mean, if that contains something you could reuse or reference, I think that would be great, Libby.
Okay.
Because I do recall that we said something, maybe it needs to get updated a little bit to reflect the new
Absolutely.
of
Absolutely.
the project, but generally speaking, affirmation of that request.
You know, and I think now is a really good time to discuss that. I mean, I think that the city's initiatives right now are peaking for mobility, for walkability, for cyclability. Now's the time. They're making it a priority. And, you know, this has been a work in progress since your mobility study in 2015. Am I correct?
Right.
So, I mean, we've been patient.
Right. Yeah.
So
And
I
want to be.
Go ahead. So BJ, why does your recommendation for the backside of Graceland have to be secondary? Can't that also be part of?
Well, yeah, I feel a little bit embarrassed because you know, I guess I just saw, you know, I see like an asphalt path that all of a sudden stops with overgrown brush and everything. And clearly after what Mike has contributed, that there's utility lines and stuff, and it's probably just an access point for servicing the utility area there. I just thought it, you know, my 20 years of cycling on that path there, I always just thought it was just a defunct path.
A little cut through or something?
Yeah, to get to Kinney Park. It just made sense. So that I just surmised a falsehood. So
Well, we had something that was going to be, we were going to try and have done through the place south of Deland.
Yeah. That is.
And maybe we could do that. And I'm going to have to pop out. We got family in the backyard.
All right.
First family fire outing. So I will leave you guys, but I will look at the resolution. And congratulations on your son, Andrew.
Oh, thank you very much. Appreciate
Okay.
Thanks, Libby. See ya.
Thanks.
Yeah, so I can, you know, it's worth an ask though to rec and parks and just see what used to be there, because I think that is, I mean, one of the things that we talked about this last time, the connection of the bikeway that will connect Jeffrey with Rathbone, so that you could get up to Graceland. So that's like the last sort of missing piece there, and they were moving forward with that. Yeah, right where your hand is, Jim. That's right. One guy's got the driveway that goes all the way through, and it's almost a perfect connection, but you know, his fence.
That's right.
So, I mean, It's worth asking as part of that. And I've got an open line of communication with Belkis over the city, and it'd be interesting just to know what the history is there and what why that doesn't connect, because it very well might.
I think I found on Google Maps what BJ was talking about. If you look at the Olentangy Trail itself, at the very north end of Kenny Park, yeah, zoom in right there where your hand is. That's it. I think it might be it anyway.
Street view from 315.
You can street view from the trail.
Yeah.
I think that's that little bump out.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. My perspective was way off. Sorry about that.
It's close. It's close.
Yeah. So I wonder if it's a river access from the freeway, like a maintenance.
Or, yeah, if there's some utility back in there or something. I can ask Brad what that is. He'll tell me.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad we figured out the mystery.
Yep. Sorry about that.
No, it's a good question.
Yeah, there's a sizable manhole cover there.
Yeah, right.
Kind of looks like a truck turnaround.
Yeah, and there are trucks there from time to time. But yeah, I get Brad to give me a sense of what that's used for. It's interesting. Well, great. BJ, this has been recorded, so I assume you could upload a copy of that so I can sort of fill in the missing gaps in meeting minutes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
It's been streamed live on Channel Clintonville, our YouTube.
Oh, okay. So it's on YouTube as well, regardless. For
And and you can review it, and it's also on the Zoom cloud for permanent archive.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you so much, everyone, making the time. And I will send around. I will get the old resolution from Libby. Look at that. I'll send around the mobility matrix, and we'll get a take here on costs for the traffic signal boxes, and hopefully have an update here next couple of days to the group on that. Thank you, Megan, for all your leadership on that. We're excited to get that in place.
Yeah, thanks, Megan.
And, Mike, thank you for joining us this evening.
Yep, thanks for having
Yeah,
me.
thanks,
Yeah,
Mike.
Appreciate it. It's great.
Great.
And
great
BJ,
stuff.
thank you for making this possible.
Hey, no problem. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate
All
it.
right.
All
Take
right.
care, guys. Be well.
Bye.
Take
Bye-bye.
care.
Good night.
Bye.
My Sarah McLaughlin background.
Yes.
Don't click.